Namaste, beautiful, beautiful beings. I hope you are well. Natasha Anand here, and I am delighted to share with you this transmission about mindful communication. So, this is a conversation that I have been having over and over again over the last few days, particularly at this current time here in the UK. We are, and very widespread across the Northern Hemisphere, we're having a lot of discussion and debate about a lot of issues, a lot of themes and topics that are all just converging at once. So in the UK, we've just entered our third lockdown quarantine, and we've just had the Pfizer vaccine introduced, and we have also had the second UK-made vaccine introduced here. And there is a lot of stuff going on in politics. There is just a lot that is going on, and there are a lot of conversations and debates happening. Particularly around the vaccine, I have been tuning into just how strong and serious the implications of our own energetic projections, our words, our thoughts, our conversations are and are having on other people. The implications and the consequences of that is, for me at this moment in time, ripe of utmost importance. So I have found myself getting, blended, or shall I say, getting caught up in parts of me that feel angry or feel frustrated about what's going on, particularly around, the kind of the lack of information that gives us a more rounded view of what's going out in the world, and the lack of this being kind of in the public realm. I've had stuff up about that. And I've had to really work on that and come back to my remembrance that everything is perfect, everything is exactly how it's meant to be. And, there's a higher and greater purpose to all of this that we may not see right now. And I'm really fully trusting in that. But in this process that I've gone to watch my anger and frustration come out, I have noticed and watched how I want to, in those moments, use my energy and my language to create a response and a reaction in others. And ultimately, those responses and actions are simply creating more suffering for others and in others by creating fear. Because if I'm imposing my opinion or my projection onto somebody in a way against their will, then I'm creating that suffering and that karma, and that falls on me. Whereas if I am to be mindful, what that really means is creating a situation whereby I hand the power and the choice over to the other person. So I am not imposing my will against their own will on them. I'm giving them a choice as to whether they would like to engage in a conversation with me. And then what happens is it becomes their responsibility whether they take on fear as a result of what I'm saying. If I'm imposing my opinion, then I am directly instilling fear. I am directly using a tactic of fear by projecting my fear into and onto somebody. I am utilizing that fear as a means to achieve some sort of end. Whereas if I'm mindful and I can flip this on its head, and I invite somebody into this situation to take what they like from it, and I purify and purge the fear from my projection and come from love, then it's up to that person to choose how to respond in that moment. So if they choose to take on fear and become fearful, that's their thing. So I'll give you a live example. There's been a lot of debate about the vaccine. And whatever my view is, I could impose that view and project into somebody's personal space some opinions that I have that may be fearful. They may in themselves, those opinions are my opinions, and they may be causing fear in other people. And those people may not be choosing for that fear to come at them. It is being imposed on them. So I have an opinion and I haven't asked if it's okay for me to share that opinion, and I simply bombard that person with my opinion. Then that is going to create suffering for them. And the implications of that long term, if they then go and choose to take the vaccine, for example, they may have my fear playing out within them, causing distress within them. And that in itself, that energy in itself is a part of the manifestation process. So what are we actually helping people to manifest by implanting our fear into them? Okay? That person could go into the situation and go and receive their medication and not be in fear, and are therefore likely to manifest their desired outcome of that medication, which is to be protected. And that is their right. But when we impose our fear into them and onto them, they're going into that situation with our fear playing over. And so we are directly influencing their ability to stay in their protected energy. But if we go into that person's space with information that we feel is important, and we ask them specifically if they would like to hear the information that I specifically have about this medication that I have been researching, and I would like to share it with you because I feel it gives an alternative view of this. If we have that information and we approach people in that way, and we state that my intention of sharing this information is coming from a place of love and concern, and I would like you to take from this as you will, and I will be mindful about the way that I express this information. So if we do that and the person accepts, and we deliver this information with love, with neutrality, and we invite that person to take what they can from it or what they want from it, and we invite that person to be mindful about what they're taking on, and if they need any support with what they're taking on, then it's on that person. It's that person's responsibility. They've accepted you in, they've accepted your information, and it's up to them to then choose how they want to take this information on. If they choose to take that on in a fearful way, that's their thing. If they choose to be appreciative of the love that you're showing and the alternative perspective that this is giving them, then that is great, that is brilliant. And they may still choose to make their own decision. Okay, and then they can choose in that moment when they're making that decision to take that medication or whatever that they're doing, to be in their own energy and to be in their own clarity with that. So at this time, for those of us that really are looking at ourselves and really wanting to come out of this polarity and duality of what's right and wrong, and come into a unified experience of sharing and helping and influencing, bringing forward a powerful, influential energy that is purged of fear and manipulation. If we want to do that, then we've got to be really, really impeccable with our communication in the way that we bring ourselves forward in the world. So we must invite ourselves into these spaces. We must invite others into this space with us. We must be absolutely with utmost impeccability and clarity in our voice and in our language to see clearly where our language is being used to manipulate, to change. And as soon as we can see that, to really backtrack on that, to really state it, own it, be clear and say, I really just heard myself there. And I want to just take that back and state that in a different way. We've got to do it in that moment, because the correction has got to be made in that moment to save ourselves from creating that suffering and that karma for others and for ourselves. Okay, so this is a tricky thing to kind of get out there and explain, but I wanted to put it out there because I've been having so many conversations with people coming to me. Today, I've had 2-3 people come to me already, saying that they've had these really challenging conversations and they just want some support in how to navigate this, to really be able to stay in their power, to be able to share what they feel from their parts and their self energy that they know that they're here to share, but how to do that in a really love-based, compassionate way that isn't creating any more suffering. And this has really, really got me thinking. And we are very much in this time because in order to create the new way, some of you have seen my other transmissions, I just did a reading within the last week where I talk about that in order to create the new way, we are going to have some challenging conversations. This is going to be a daily occurrence. We are actively creating this new world together. And so what are we going to do? Are we going to create this new world and accumulate suffering at the same time? Are we going to create this new world in the light and the image of love, of what we are here to do? And so everything comes down to the energy that we are giving out and the intention behind that energy. Is there a fear-based intention or a love-based intention there? So I hope you've enjoyed this transmission. I'm going to be sharing more and more stuff that is relevant and ripe at this time. If you have any ideas about what you want me to share or what you want me to cover or any questions you have or any comments about what I am sharing with you, please let me know. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. Namaste.